Hey guys, this is me, Kevin Murphy, on my channel called Narcissistic Abuse Learning Who I Am Again. In this video, I'm going to talk about how us survivors feel after we've run into the narcissist randomly. So, you may have been no contact with your original narcissist or whoever your narcissistic partner was, or narcissistic roommate, or whoever the narcissist was in your life, randomly, either in traffic or at a store or at a friend event, and you might you may have been caught off guard, not realizing or knowing that you were in fact going to run into that person. And you ask yourself, what is your response if that happens? What if you run into that narcissist after months of no contact, years of no contact, decades of with no contact? How do you still feel? Do you still feel those butterflies? Do you still feel that level of anxiety? Do you still feel that level of hatred toward that person? Or you still feel that, those feelings of angst whenever you run into that narcissist? I really feel that this is going to be an video because I don't really particularly see this on the boards too much about survivors running into narcissists randomly after no contact. But I have heard in personal situations, and I've even encountered it myself as of recently, where I have ran into the narcissist, a narcissist that was in my life, and I've heard of other people who too have ran into narcs from their past as well. So I'm going to give you an example of what has happened to me these past several days. So on my channel, I've talked about my ex-narcissistic roommate who liked playing with knives and axes and things like that, and how I had to move out of the house that we were living in together, and because of his behavior and because of the concerns that I had, and how he didn't take heed to any of the concerns that I had. So I did not. He did not know where I moved to, and I don't know exactly where he moved to. But I know that he's still in the area because as of recently, I've been running into him quite a bit. And I ran into him, now this is Wednesday, so I ran into him on Friday, I ran into him on Monday, and I ran into him again this afternoon. And whenever I would run into him, and this is not face-to-face contact, this is usually like passing on the road, because I know his car, he knows my car, and I usually would see him as I would pass by. And so the feelings that I would get each time I would run into him, I would feel this sense of anxiety, this sense of pain. So all of the things that has happened with me, with him in that house, comes back every time I run into him on the road. And usually I would see him maybe all of 30 seconds, maybe 40, 50 seconds, no longer than that. But just that glimpse of his car, just of his face, and just gives me those flashbacks of things that I had to go through in the house, the arguments, some of the inappropriate comments, some of the inappropriate conversations, the alcohol abuse, the passing out drunk. All of those things came back to mind. And what happens when we run into when we're not fully healed from that experience, we will experience those kind of feelings. So I know it's a lot easier said than done, but I realize that my ex-roommate lives in the same area that I live in, and that there's going to be times where I'm going to probably run into him randomly, and next time it might be face to face. And I came to the conclusion that if I do run into him again, I'm going to remain calm. I'm going to think happy thoughts. I'm going to think about how I was rescued out of that situation, that I don't no longer have to live with him anymore, that I live on my own, that I have my own place, that I'm a lot happier where I'm at, and that I don't have to, I don't have to let him have that kind of power and control over me. Because the first two times I saw him, it was very anxiety provoking. Like I felt, I can't explain the feelings that I felt, but they weren't good feelings. And even this afternoon when I ran into him on the way to the store, it was kind of the same thing, but it wasn't as intense as it was when I saw him on Monday, and when I saw him last Friday on my way to work, both times. So I say this to say that. When you run into your old narcissist, when you run into people that were toxic to you and things like that, it's very tempting to kind of act very insecure. It's very tempting to want to run away from that person or avoid them. If you know that that narcissist is going to be there and you're no contact, I would try to avoid them. But if you're in a situation like I was on the highway, or you're driving past, or you're walking past, because like the city that I live in, there's a lot of foot traffic. We have a lot of restaurants in our neighborhood, and so there's a lot, there's going to, and I know that this ex roommate frequented a lot of the same places I did. So and the weather's getting warmer and things like that. So I'm going to probably run into him again. So um, for you viewers who have had issues with narcs in the past, and you've gone no contact, and you feel that you have ran into the narcissist, or you've had this fear that you're going to run into the narcissist, I would try to remain very calm. I would have a calm composure. If that narcissist says hello, I would be cordial. I would say hello back to them, and I would keep it moving. Like if they try to carry a conversation with you, if they try to talk to you about anything, even if they try to apologize to you, I would say, I'm sorry. I'm about. I don't have I don't have a whole lot of time. I gotta run. I gotta go. Whatever. Um, but there's times there's times where in our recovery where we're going to make leaps and bounds in our progress, and then there's going to be times where we're going to take we're going to take a step or two backwards, but we have to keep each other accountable. I would also continue watching videos, not only just mine, but other people's videos keep on watching videos, keep on educating yourself on narcissistic abuse, post narcissistic abuse, post no contact, strategies, things to do when you are no contact with the narcissist and you just happen to run into them. That narcissist could have new supply. They could have a new supply on their shoulder. You have to be able to remain calm and to remain have a good composure, because there's nothing more that the narcissist would love is for you to start feeling that sense of anxiety, or feeling that sense of angst toward them, especially when they have a new supply on their arm. And always remember that that new supply is not someone to envy. That new supply is not someone that you want to be like, or someone that should threaten your self-esteem in any kind of way. That new supply is what he or she is, a new supply, a new victim. So if you happen to run into the not only run into the narcissist, but that narcissist has a new victim on their shoulder, or a new supply that's hanging on their every word, or kissing them, or holding hands with them, and you see that new supply corresponding or engaging with that narcissist in ways you wish that narcissist engaged with you, it's not going to last, because that new supply is in the love bombing stage. That new supply is a victim, and it's only going to be a matter of time. Either one or two things are going to happen. A new supply is either going to get hooked onto what the narcissist is doing or how the narcissist is behaving, or that new supply is due to be discarded or be devalued very, very, very soon. So never envy the new supply. Never envy the new victim. And just whenever you feel that urge to, you know, to 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 fight or flight or freeze, whenever you see that narcissist, I would keep my composure. That's where I hear on the boards about going gray rock. That is a very important tactic to have. It's gray rock means your composure is really calm, your answers are really calm, your affect and your tone is very monotone. You're not giving them any kind of positive or negative feedback. It's just neutral. You're almost robotic when it comes to dealing with these people. So that's how you deal with the narcissist. When if you run into them in the car, pray, listen to music, think about how you no longer have to live with this person anymore. You no longer have to be in a relationship with this person anymore. And if that narcissist makes you feel jealous by flaunting that new supply around, don't be jealous. Don't be jealous. Don't feel envious toward this new person or anything like that, because a couple of things came to mind when I ran into my ex roommate. Is, because when I lived in the house with this ex roommate, like I said, I love to cook. I like to, I'm very accommodating to people and things like that. And with this ex roommate, I did a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have. I saved food for him. I let him eat my food. I let him drink my beverages and things like that. And I was incredibly nice to this person. And every time I think about or run into him, I constantly go back to, oh, I was nice to him. I did this for him. I did that for him. But he was an asshole to me. And he was playing with knives and he was playing with axes and he minimized me and he treated me like crap and he talked about me like a dog to his friends and to other people. And you start to feel this, and that's what brings on that angst. That's what brings on that anger, because you feel like you've invested so much in this relationship with the narcissist, and all they've done was take, and devalue you, and then they just discard you, or you had to end up discarding the narcissist. And then all of a sudden they have this new supply, this new person, and all of a sudden you're replaced, like you meant nothing to the narcissist. And I'm going to tell you something. You didn't mean nothing to the narcissist. No matter how many dinners you fixed, no matter how many baseball games you watched of them play, no matter how many times you did her laundry, no matter how many times you've taken him out to dinner, it doesn't matter, because narcissistic people are like a bottomless pit. You keep on investing, and it is what it is. And that's how I would feel with this ex roommate, that I invested so much into us living together and just sharing my food and sharing my time, my valuable time, and things like that, because the narcissist would always want to sit and talk about politics, things I wasn't interested in. The narcissist would also want to eat up my food because he said I was a good cook, and I would allow it because I didn't have any boundaries. I was codependent, and I wanted to be accepted, but I also wanted him to not feel hungry or anything like that. And I felt bad for him because he has told me that other people would ignore him, or other people would treat him like crap. So I would try to feel like most codependents do, feel like I had to make up for what other people did. I felt responsible for fixing the mistakes and the things that other people did to him. And that's what happens as codependents. And we start thinking like and mulling over in bewilderment, like, I just did this for her. I just did that for him. And I bent over backwards for this person, and I gave this person money, and I, let them borrow my car, and I paid their rent, and I paid their bills, and I let them have food, and I cooked for them. And if you're dealing with a narcissistic person and you're a codependent and you're a giver like that, and then all of a sudden you're discarded, and then they have a new supply right on their back burner, it is very devastating. I'm not denying that. It hurts like hell. But what you have to do is you have to move on. And I'm speaking to myself in this video as well. So you have to move on. You have to realize that these people are pieces of shit. They don't care about you. They don't have your best interest. They were love bombing you. They were trying to manipulate you into getting you hooked and get your guard down so they can take from you. And then once they're done with you, you're like yesterday's garbage. And then they find a new person to come and take your place. And it hurts. It feels really, really bad, because the idea that you're replaceable, the idea that they just found somebody else just like that, like you meant nothing, and you did. But this should not affect your self-esteem. I know it. I want you to hear me, because the narcissist has a low self-esteem themselves. So what they're doing is they're projecting their low self-esteem onto you, and they're trying to make you feel bad. So that's why I say that it does affect your self-esteem, but it shouldn't, because it's all about projection. It's all about them projecting all of their dirt, all of their nastiness, all of their disgust of how they feel about themselves onto you. They don't have self-esteem. They don't feel important. They don't feel loved. So what they have to do is they have to get rid of all of that nastiness that they feel about themselves and release it onto you, the target, the codependent, the person who's giving. And on top of that, they see that you have wonderful qualities, that you're giving, that you are a good cook, that you are a wonderful person, that you are caring, that you are thoughtful. And the narcissist knows that they're not capable of ever feeling those feelings. So that's another reason why they target you. That's another reason why they prey on you, because they didn't fall in love. They don't know what love is. So you are prey to them, and they preyed on you because you have such wonderful attributes. You have such wonderful gifts and talents and things like that that the narcissist will never have. So I hope I didn't ramble too much, but this is just a video on what to do, or what happens when you run into your ex-narcissist after no contact. I didn't live with my roommate for over 4 months. I'm going on 5 months now, and it still sometimes bothers me, and it shows me that I still have to work on my stuff. I still have a lot of work to do in my own journey, and there's no need to beat yourself up. I'm not beating myself up. I'm human. These things happen, and the more mistakes we make, the better. They're learning opportunities, and I really feel that our mistakes gives us an opportunity to continue to love ourselves, and continue, and gives us opportunity to really love ourselves with all the mistakes, because our upbringing has taught us that it's not okay to make mistakes, that the way that we receive love from our parents, or the way that we receive love from other people, is if we don't make mistakes, is if we always bat 1,000, that we never make those steps backwards. And I feel that God allows us to have those moments and and make those mistakes, so that way we can experience self-love despite our mistakes, despite though those feelings that we may have when we run into the narcissist. So if you find yourself rekindling a relationship with the narcissist even after no contact, and then you realize that, oh, I really fucked up, and I probably shouldn't have done that. You don't beat yourself up over that. Like, it is what it is, and you made a mistake. You learn from that mistake. You know that it's not safe to go back to that narcissist, no matter how much they told you that they've changed. It's just like putting your hand on that stove. You know that fire is hot, so I'm not going to put my hand on that stove. So I look at it this way: you act up, you move on, and it's another day. So this was a video on running into the narcissist post narcissistic abuse and post no contact. Please stay tuned for more videos. My name is Kevin Murphy, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.